Hi, everybody. Welcome to Trance Talks. This is Susan Marco. Trance Talks is basically conversations with practitioners across many alternative modalities and disciplines in an effort to share with you all the amazing, wonderful people that I have had the pleasure to meet and get to know, and to be able to share with you the possibilities of what is there for you on your healing journey. So today I'm really lucky. I'm so happy to have Betsy Bergman here with me. Betsy is a Chopra well-being instructor, as well as a certified life designer coach and a certified Qigong instructor. And what she does really is help people age gracefully using simple self-care practices based on the principles of Ayurveda. So, Betsy, please illuminate, please share with my listeners, for those who don't know, what is Ayurveda, first of all?
Absolutely. I get that question a lot. First of all, how do you even pronounce it? I get a lot too. How
I
do you
bet.
spell it? Yes. So Ayurveda is a ancient wisdom from India. It means the science of life, and it's really a framework of how to balance your unique set point. And it's utilizing the elements of nature, which is air, space, fire, water, and earth, and using those characteristics to help you balance your unique nature. And everyone has a different, set point, right? A different temperature. So, it's really becomes more of an art when you start to utilize these practices and really exploring what is your unique nature and then how you balance it. And it's the underlying principle or premise is super simple. It's really just balancing with the opposite. So if you have warm, balance with cool. If you have fast, balance with slow. So it's actually very easy, which is one of the things that I love about it. And it's very holistic. It's nourishing your mind, your body, and your spirit. So it's all of that.
I love that.
Yeah,
So when you work with somebody, how do you, like, what does that look like? I know you do
sure.
coaching and group stuff, but
Yes.
what kinds of things would you?
Yeah. So I have a handful of classes and it's always evolving. I'm always tweaking them, developing them, adding classes, taking classes out. I started my classes on Zoom years ago, and now I have primarily been doing them in person, mostly at the Highlands Recreation Center primarily, but I've also done classes in libraries, through yoga studios, and I have a class that's on my website that's on demand. It's pre-recorded. It's the introduction to Ayurveda. So you can just grab that class. It's very inexpensive, and that gives you a little bit of an introduction. It's got some quizzes, so it helps you find your set points. And then I would say also I coach one on one, and that could be either in person or through Zoom. And then if somebody say wanted to get a group of people together, we could and you're not local, we could very easily do something through Zoom
Mm.
as well. But so I do a little. It's a hybrid. I do a little of both.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
wonderful. It
yeah,
kind of makes it accessible, very
very.
accessible for people.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
and flexible too, right?
yeah, yeah.
And that's part of my game plan is not only to make it simple but to make it easy and flexible for my life too, and then hopefully for others as well.
I also like, in your bio, when you talk about simple self-care practices,
Yes,
um, most of us, especially of a certain age, we have a limited, sometimes, we can have a limited amount of either time or bandwidth,
absolutely.
right? So can you talk a little bit about that
Sure.
and like what
Yes,
simple
yes.
mean
And
exactly?
that actually stems from my own experience as well, where 17 years ago, I seem to be on a 17-year plan. So 17 years ago, I left my corporate job of 17 years before that.
Wow.
And when I was in a corporate environment, I was traveling nationally and I had no time for self-care. I had little children, I had aging parents, and I think that it was from that lifestyle, knowing that there has to be a better way and craving that self-care. And so I took a big leap of faith and left my corporate job and went into real estate for 17 years. And that helped a lot. That type of flexibility in my schedule helped a lot. So I was able to slowly incorporate some self-care, particularly in the mornings.
Mhm.
And then now, fast forward 17 years later, this is where I'm focusing my offering is to help people with that are busy. That's why it has to be simple, right? And not
Yeah.
take a lot of time so that you can incorporate it into your life. I was just having a conversation with my daughter who's 29, and I have a daughter 29 and 32, and they both are in that, you know, right in the throes of corporate life and trying to find, time for self-care. And so I said, Kyle, I said, we should, have a conversation, to, help, knowing what the challenges are and, find, how do we find, that time to incorporate it, wherever you can. Some businesses are going to lend itself easier than others, but I think if you can carve out that time in the morning and set up that foundation, that's a huge start. Or maybe it's how you end your day. Maybe in the middle it all goes down, but at least, maybe start in the beginning, set up a foundation, and maybe before you go to sleep, try and sleep is so important. So if you can get a good night's sleep, you're ahead of the game.
Oh, for sure. What I love about your story, we hear this a lot now, right? About people who are in a corporate kind of framework, right? Like they're working corporate, and there is like, you can only go so far. And to make that shift from corporate America into more of a healing art or healing
Mhm.
practice, it's such an interesting balance, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And here's the thing. It's you have to really have a strong why if you're going to put that stake in the ground and carve out that time, that boundary for yourself. You have to have a really compelling why you want to do that. Otherwise, there's so many influences that are going to invade that space.
Mm. So is there more to your why?
Oh
And
gosh, yes.
when we talk about helping people to age gracefully.
Yeah, yeah. So, as I alluded to earlier, going back, 15, 30 years, I was helping my parents quite a bit. And so they moved from their home to a single family home to a town home to an independent continuum care facility.
Mm.
And then there, so what precipitated that was my mother had a stroke. And so her mobility gradually declined more and more over the 20 years that she was there. So she went from being able to walk to not being able to walk to wheelchair bedridden. And that then can become, as devoted as my father was in, seeing her every day, that does lead to isolation to some extent, even though, we went often, still isolated to some extent. And then, even just as I'm observing people around me that are not even as old as my mother was having strokes, and again, leading to immobility leading to isolation. So, I would say that preventing that for myself and whatever I learn, this strong desire to share with others so that others can maintain mobility, vitality, engagement. Maybe you are, in a wheelchair. Maybe, maybe that's that's the way it is, but still just engaging with life. I think my father was a great example of that. He lived to 103, and
Wow.
he was in a wheelchair for maybe I don't know, a year or so before he passed away. So he was over 100 and still walking.
Amazing.
And yeah, and so and he had, technically he was legally blind, but he still used a computer, still used an iPad, an iPhone, played chess. So he was just a great example, for me to
Yeah.
continue his legacy.
They didn't call them the greatest generation for nothing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he definitely, both of them were inspirations to me to try and just continue how they live their lives, and sharing it with other people so that they can live their best lifestyle.
Mhm. So without giving away the farm, what are some of the things that you incorporate into your programs? In other words, is it
Sure.
diet? Is it
Yeah.
like how, like what things do you incorporate into
Yeah.
that for people?
Sure. So one of the classes, aside from the intro class, is exploring the six tastes for optimal nutrition. And so again, it's trying to find that balance. It's, what foods, should we favor? And again, one size does not fit all. It's finding your unique formula. So it's just playing with these six tastes and finding, how this nourishes your body. And then and that's really fun because I love cooking, and so it's great fun. And then the other class that I absolutely adore is daily routines. And I alluded to this earlier, where if you can set up some self-care practices in the morning, and then this class takes you all day, and it's using the circadian rhythm. And so it goes from, morning to night, and then even through the night, like what's happening while you're sleeping, and how can you best nourish your body and your mind, even while you're sleeping. So that's daily routines. Love it. And then I also have emotional freedom, which takes you from a mentality. It's emotions, emotion driven, but it's also your mind too. It's all connected, right? Your mind, body, and spirit. So it's going from how do you go from a victim mentality to a victorious mentality? And
Mm.
how do your emotions affect your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body?
Well, Nat, you're talking my language now. I love that. I love that
Yeah,
so much.
yeah, yeah.
Who who would you say is drawn to your work? Like we have this question in the entrepreneur world,
Right.
right? When we are self-employed and we're working on a client basis. Like who is the ideal person for you to work with, or who is most drawn to this kind of work?
So I would say, first of all, no age. I think that, any age you can start aging gracefully, right? You're never too young to start
Mhm.
aging gracefully, and you're never too old to start aging gracefully too. So any age. But I would say if there was one thing, it would be that strong why, that strong desire to want to up level. I would say that that's the common thread, that I find in all these people um, that either, that we find each other one way or another, right? And so it's just like that common thread of what, and it's not being unsatisfied with where you are. It's just that drive or that pull to just keep up leveling, right? So, I am able to walk around, but could I have more comfort? Sure.
Yeah.
Right. So am I, at an ideal weight? Probably not. Could probably shed, some pounds, but am I comfortable? Sure. Can I up level? Sure.
It's
And it's
interesting.
just curious. It's just
Yeah,
curiosity.
it's so interesting, right? Because the mindset of, I used to look at, let's just take therapy, for example, right? Like psychotherapy. I used to think I must be really screwed up that I feel like I need to go talk to somebody about my mental health. There must be something really wrong with me. How about there's nothing really wrong with me, but I want to be better at being me?
Yes.
I want to
Yes.
live in my
Yeah.
body in a better way, or I want
Right.
to feel better when I wake
Right.
up in the morning. I love that.
Right. Yeah. And part of it, it's definitely, this is cliche, but it's not necessarily about the destination, it's the journey, right? It's just interesting. Another thing that I probably inherited from my father was he was so interested in learning, and that's what I think kept him vital. He
Yeah.
read, he was very well read, and he was, and even just, trying to figure out, how his iPhone worked. He was just curious about learning. He
Love
wanted
that.
to do it better.
I should love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just speaking with a friend about a friend of ours who also lived to be 100. And I think that was a huge part of his longevity, was that curiosity about life.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I think he was just too stubborn, like he was stubbornly going to stick around. He wasn't going anywhere, right? Um, but yeah, so it is it's in our ability and in our power, right? To choose how we age.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I
Yeah.
love that you do this work.
Yeah. There's
What
one other thing that I throw out there too. It's not Ayurveda, but it's another class that I teach, and I think that it can really, again, regardless of your physical condition, it's something that most people can do, which is Qigong.
Mhm.
So even if you are in a wheelchair, it's mostly from the waist up, and what Qigong is energy work. So it's putting movement with music and with thought with movement. And when all of these things come together, it's like ignites the spirit.
Yes, I love qigong. Yeah. Um, so Betsy, what would you say is the key to success for your clients, for people that work with you? What's the secret?
Mm. So I would say that could be different for everyone. That's, everyone is going to define success differently. But if I answered it for myself, and what my hope would be for whoever I'm working with, is it's fun.
Oh, love that.
If, are you, is it, does it bring you more joy? Does it in any way infiltrate more joy in your life? Then I feel like I've done my job.
So beautiful. So, how do people find you if someone wants to work with you?
Sure. So you can go to my website, Simply Be Well. It's no E, just simplybewell.com. And there you can reach me, directly to have a conversation, either phone or email, or you can find my classes, and which again, can be one of a myriad of ways. And I have, the other thing that I'll mention is my podcast. So, which is also on the website.
Yes.
So there's where I have conversations with a lot of other practitioners, but not necessarily. It's, finding the extraordinary in the ordinary of, how to live a fabulous life.
Beautiful. Listen, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you wanted to say that we haven't covered?
Just have fun.
What a wonderful
Stay
way to end it.
curious.
Just have fun.
Just have fun. Everything else will fall into place.
Oh, I'm going to take those words with me through the rest of my day
Oh,
now. I love
oh,
that.
my gosh. Well, thank you, Susan, so much. It was such an honor for you to have asked me to be your guest. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. It's an honor for me to have you as a guest. So we have a little mutual admiration
We
going
sure
on here.
do. We sure
Yeah.
do. You can find my conversation where I interview Susan on my podcast, and that was so much fun. You're such a beautiful soul, Susan. You have
Oh,
really, your energy is filled with light.
oh, thank you, Betsy. Like attracts like, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So thank you for being who you are and being in the world in the way that you are, and for being having this conversation with me.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day, everybody.